Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to see you today for our Super Swim Safety webinar. I am so pleased that we are partnering with Aqua-tots today to help us with this. So what you're going to hear is going to be kind of two sides of the same coin. We're going to talk about the importance of swim safety for all kids and really all people. And we're also going to talk about what swim safety looks like for those on the autism spectrum or those neurodivergent kiddos. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to Paisley Sutton. She is the local marketing coordinator for our Aqua-tots in Michigan, and I'm so thrilled that she's with us. And then a little bit later, you're going to hear from BCBA and Regional Discipline Director Jackie Barnes, and she's going to talk to you all about those kiddos on the autism spectrum. So let's get going. Paisley, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Karen. Hey, everyone. My name is Paisley. And as Karen said, I'm the local marketing coordinator at Aqua-tots Swim Schools in Southeast Michigan. My job includes managing social media, leading community outreach, and conducting water safety presentations like this one for kids and parents throughout our community. I'm a former swim instructor and lifeguard, and I'm just really passionate about making sure the kids know that life-saving skill of swimming. And so, yeah, today we're going to get into some water safety tips and why it's so important to be conscious of water safety. Okay, so we live in Michigan, so we know that we're surrounded by water from lakes to rivers and pools, but with all that beauty comes a real risk. Drowning is one of the leading causes of accidental deaths in children, and it can happen under 30 seconds. The good news is it's completely preventable. So that's why we're here to walk you through a few essential water safety tips that every parent should know. So normally I do this presentation for little ones, and we teach water safety through the ABCs, but it's just as helpful to stick for parents. So let's get into it. A is for adult supervision. The things we like to drill down with this is to always have a distraction-free adult watching children in or near the water. This means someone who isn't distracted by phones, isn't grilling or talking with people or anything like that, someone who is dedicated to watching the water. It's super important to stress that this includes watching children who may not be in the water, but maybe are near the water as well. It's important just as important to watch those kids who are near the water playing nearby as it is to watch those kids that are in the water, because kids can accidentally fall in or reach for a toy or something that's in the water. It also includes watching kids that know how to swim, as drownings can happen when children get tired or currents change in the lakes or rivers. The best practice we like to encourage is called touch supervision. This means being close enough to reach out and help if necessary, especially for those young kiddos and non-swimmers. Next up, we have B, which is for boundaries. This means using pool fences, locked doors, and gates when you're near the water, and setting clear boundaries and water rules for your kids. So teach your kids to never open up a gate or a door to a pool, but rather wait for an adult to open it for them. This is really important, especially, in those small moments, even when you go with your kids to the pool. Don't let them open up the gate. Let them know that this is mom's job, this is dad's job to open up the gate. This is an adult's job, not a kid's job to open up the gate. And we never want to encourage kids to go near the water to grab a toy or explore without permission. This is just really important to set those boundaries that kids need permission when they're near water at all. So we can move on to C, which is for classes. Swim classes are super important. Formal swim lessons can reduce the risk of drowning by up to 88%. So Aqua-tots, we teach water safety through our lessons, including things like breath control, floating, and overall confidence for the kids. So swim lessons are super important. They teach kids so many things that that have nothing to do with the water. They teach kids the confidence of knowing their body and motor functions, boundaries, and learning to ask for permission and pay attention to their surroundings. So swim classes are so important. Even for strong swimmers, they can benefit from consistent practice. So a few other tips we have for you guys. First, it's important to ensure that your kid has proper gear. So make sure that when you're around any body of water that you have the proper gear for your child. This means using real life jackets rather than floaties. It's important to get a Coast Guard approved life jacket rather than floaties, because floaties can give kids and parents a false sense of confidence, which can result in a drowning. Also, make sure to dress your kids in bright colored swimsuits like red or neon yellow, not blue. And that just helps them stay visible when they're in the water. There's a lot of interesting videos out there that show which colors are visible, even when kids are struggling. And it's really important to use those bright colors. Also, it's important to teach basic emergency skills. So slowly acclimate your kid to the water, teach them how to stay calm, breathe, and float or tread water. It's just most important to teach your kid that how to be calm around the water so that they don't freak out, and they're really able to stop and think rather than go into any fight or flight mode. If they can't float, teach your kid how to wave and call for help. This is super important. Just those little kinds of things can be the difference between a life or death situation. If your kid knows to wave, or even to turn towards the nearest wall, or turn near the nearest way to get out of the water. That's a simple thing, skill that you can teach your kids. Also, create a water safety plan. As we talked about earlier, you want to make sure that you designate a water watcher to be, making sure that they're taking a look at the kids at any gatherings by the water. If you want to have two, that's even better. That way, you got both sides of the pool being watched. Always make sure that you check for water conditions ahead of time before you go to the lake or to the river, and make sure to practice what to do in case of an emergency as a family. What does that look like for your family? And really, that starts on land rather than in the water. So, in conclusion, these habits really last a lifetime, and it starts with small things like discussions in the home that end up carrying over to the water. So, parents are always the first line of defense when it comes to drownings. Swimming is a lifelong skill, and water safety, starts in the home, starts with the confidence that you and give your kid to feel safe around the water, and by following the ABCs and preparing your child for all this water fun, reinforcing safe habits, you're giving them the confidence and protection of a lifetime. So yeah, we hope you learned a thing or two from this presentation, and hope to see you at one of our Aqua-tots schools. We have several around the Metro Detroit area, and you'll see later on that we have a nice little coupon code that we're going to be giving you guys to call any of our local Aqua-tots and get more information from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Paisley. Now, first and foremost, thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm Jackie. I am one of our regional discipline directors of ABA services. I've been in ABA since August of 2013, so I've been around for a bit, but I've been a BCBA for just over 7 years. Now, what I'm hoping to teach you guys today are some ways that you can work on, really helping your child identify, whether it's in the water or elsewhere, what safe and unsafe may be. And if you're a learner at MetroEHS, what supports you can hope to receive from us in this domain. So the first thing that, I even experienced this as a mom myself. I've got 2 kids. Not everyone's definition of what safe is the same. What one of my kids thinks is safe, the other one would be terrified of. So part of my job as a parent to my own kids, and part of what I do with kids at Metro, is teaching them objectively what safe versus unsafe means. So for some of your kids, that might be showing them examples of it as it comes up naturally, like in a movie, like, oh man, that looks really dangerous, or ooh, I shouldn't have walked with the scissors like that, or man, we're running near the pool. That's not safe. Why don't we do walking feet? So really labeling a lot of your behaviors and doing this is safe, and maybe this wasn't so safe, and this is what we can do next time, and really calling that daily attention to those behaviors is very helpful. Now, some of you may encounter your kid really has a hard time listening to the auditory, this isn't safe or this is safe. So you might want to make a game out of it, like printing out flashcards of, snapshots from movies where something is safe or unsafe, and having them sort them and make them a game. Whether your child operates more visually or auditorily, there are ways that we here at Metro can help you work through those situations and make sure your kid's able to keep themselves safe. So the next thing that I'm going to do, it sounds very simple, but I think it's a really key skill for our parents to get familiar with. And I call it catch them being safe. If you notice your kid is in a situation where they could potentially choose to engage in some unsafe behavior, like at the mall, they're walking next to you and they're holding your hand instead of running towards the fountain that they see. Because, like Paisley said, drownings can happen in under 30 seconds. So if you see them being safe somewhere, be like, hey, nice job using safe walking feet near the pool. Or I'm really proud of how you kept your hands safe and you asked me to go in the water. Really focus on the good things they're doing. So that way, maybe when they're not being so safe, we have ways to support them. Be like, hey, you know how earlier you were doing a really nice job walking with me near the pool and asking me to go get the ball when it fell in? Let's try doing that again. So we really want to focus on the positive things that we see our kids do, so that way we can also refer back to those in moments where they may be struggling. So I know I've referred to visuals in the slide about teaching them safe versus unsafe, but I have also made visuals to provide for families to use in their home if they have a pool. So like this visual depicts some things that I like to go over with kids when it comes to water safety. You'll see through these pictures, watch or walk, listen, look, and help. So they need to use walking feet near the pool, listening ears for grown-ups and other potential emergencies, looking around as they're walking near a pool, and anytime they want to go near the pool, they have to ask for that help, which is that fourth picture. And then underneath it, you also want to show your child, or at least tell your child, behaviors that you do not want to see in that environment. Because I myself am very much and I can't expect you to do this if no one has shown you and told you and modeled that behavior for you. So us having these visuals available for your child can help remind them, okay, I'm about to walk into the pool. Mom in my BCBA told me I need to have walking feet, listening ears, look around and ask for help. And they maybe don't want to see me pushing people into the pool or running or whatever the behaviors of concern are in that environment. We can always help you make visuals to support that. So sometimes our kids are kids and they may not always be the most safe. So what we're going to go over next is what to do if unsafe behavior happens near the water, or really unsafe behavior happens anywhere where you have less control, but in this aspect, the water specifically. First thing we want you to do, of course, is protect your baby or whoever's kid that is. The first thing is make sure they are physically protected. Then we can go back through and explain, hey, that wasn't so safe. It's really important that you're doing X, Y, Z, and we're going to prompt them or show them how to do the behavior or action we want to see instead of maybe what was not so safe up front. So first thing, just a reminder, you're going to protect the kid. Explain maybe where things went sideways and then kind of prompt or walk them through what you would like to see instead. So those are kind of the hallmark things. Now, every kid is different. So the way this may look for your child might depend on their communication style or any particular safety scenarios relevant to your child. We'd be happy to go over with you in sessions as well.
Great. Thank you guys so much. We can definitely open it up for any questions that our guests have. I do want to point out a couple things that I learned from you guys. I'd never even considered blue swimsuits. I didn't even think of that. And that seems like such a common sense way of, viewing the world and viewing those swimming pools. Wow, why didn't I think about that at the time? So that is an excellent little tidbit that
I didn't think about it until my child's swim instructor told me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Right.
3 of his swimsuits are blue. Right. No, they are not anymore. They are now all neon orange and yellow.
Right. It's like camouflage when you send your child into the pool. So wow, that was a great little tidbit. And the other thing is just having visual kids. I mean, they need those visual clues because especially if they're not readers yet, if you've got those pictures, where do you find pictures like that if you're not really a crafty person and you can't make them? Where could you find that?
So I find a lot of visuals through Canva is one place that I find them. But you can also Google. A lot of times visuals are on websites like Teacher Pay Teachers. And they do sometimes have free resources there. For some of these other safety skills where I referred to making things a game, you may be able to find options on websites like Boom Learning. That's another really popular one I've used with kids before. And I make programming in there all the time. So yeah, I like to hit those things from multiple standpoints because like you were saying, some kids are more visual than they are auditory.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So those are some good. So maybe if you send me the link to some of those, I can send them out with the recording so our parents have that. We did have a question come in for autistic children attending Aqua-tots. So Paisley, this one's for you. Is there an option for one-on-one teaching for those kiddos?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. Our different schools do vary, but we do offer one-on-one teaching and private lessons. So I would recommend calling the closest Aqua-tots to you to see what their capacity is. But it definitely is an option. And if you check out the Aqua-tots website, you can see more information about some of the specific programs we have that are tailored to different children's needs.
Great. And then we have another question. Are there special trainings for those working with autistic children at Aqua-tots? Because they, as we know, they can kind of be a handful sometimes. So do they have a special training for those teachers?
Yes, we do. We do have certain teachers that are qualified to teach, to work with different types of students. So it really just varies based off of which teachers work at the different schools. But if you check out your school, you can inquire about if they have had that training. But most schools have at least a couple of people who definitely have that training.
Okay, great. That's so important for them to know because those behaviors can take people off guard if they're not used to it. Okay, so this question might be for both of you. How many classes do you recommend? So let's answer that for kids who are on the neurodivergent autism spectrum and for just regular classes for kiddos. So Paisley, why don't you start? And then Jackie, I want you to follow up with that.
Sure. Paisley, you're muted.
Oh. Sorry about that. At Aqua-tots, we don't have like a set number of classes that we recommend. It really is like an ongoing program. We have levels from level 1 and level 2, which are like children, like baby classes, baby and mom or dad classes. And then level 3 is when they start being independent, and it goes all the way up to level 8. We also have a swim team. We consider your child a safe swimmer at level 6. So that's really the goal that we try to get all of the children to, is that level 6 kind of standpoint, where they shouldn't, at that point, they know the lifelong skill of swimming, how to, get in survival techniques of treading water, and all the basic strokes. So getting those kids to level 6 is the goal. It depends on the child, of course. Some kids take longer than others, but we work with each kid to make sure that they're on pace. And, if we have to make adjustments, we make that as necessary.
Okay, Jackie, would you like to follow up on that? How often do you think kiddos should attend swim lessons?
I view it as a life skill. So for me, when it's things that are a life or safety skill, as much as the family can manage is really the best course of action. And if it's a kid that's a Metro client and you're concerned about how they'll navigate that swimming environment, you can also sign things like a release of information for whatever support providers your child currently sees to communicate with agencies like Aqua-tots. That way it's a behaviorally safe and physically safe environment for your kid. But as far as like how much swim lessons they need, it depends on their learning style. Every kid's different. And likewise, it's the same with an ABA recommendation. I get that question all the time. How many hours does my kid need? Well, it depends on your kid, what your goals are for them in this domain, and what you hope to see from this experience.
Absolutely. Oh, and one other thing to add along those lines, as far as how many classes per week, we do typically like to recommend at least 2, just because that helps with the muscle memory. 1 class a week is fine too, but that 2 really is the sweet spot and helps them stay on track to get to level 6 faster.
I view it almost as like learning a language. If you're only taking like half an hour a week to learn a language, it's going to take quite a while. And
Exactly.
not that there's anything wrong with that, because you only have as much bandwidth as you have. But if you have the bandwidth for a more involved swim system, or, if you're looking for other outpatient services or ABA type services, sure, be honest with us about your bandwidth. But whatever you can accommodate in that early intervention and support is super important.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we have one more question came in. For group classes, are autistic children welcome? I'm guessing Ms. Harris means in like general population, or do you guys prefer one-on-one with those kiddos?
Yeah, it really depends on the child and what the child's needs are. Everything is really tailored to them. So what you can do and what I would recommend doing is calling your local Aqua-tots, and we have free eval lessons. So if you bring your kid in for an eval lesson, you can discuss with the front desk staff, and they can recommend what's best for that eval lesson, if they want to either do a one-on-one or a private or a group class for that eval, to see what is best for your kids' needs. And then you can work from there. But those eval classes are super important because it just helps us place your child in the right level, and then also see what we need to do from our side to, set them up for success.
It's like your version of our initial assessment.
Exactly.
Love that.
Isn't that interesting, guys? People who work with kids kind of have
hey, look at Aqua-tots doing ABA stuff.
Right. All right, great.
Love
You guys feel free to throw in a couple extra questions if you have some, but I do want to let you know Aqua-tots has been very generous with us, and I'm going to send you, it's like a coupon picture or something, I'm guessing, Paisley, that's going to give you 50% off, correct me if I'm wrong, but 50% off for their first month of lessons at Aqua-tots. So we want to make sure that you guys have that. So it'll come out along with the recording of this webinar to your email that you put in with your registration. The other thing that I want to let you know is that next month we're going to be talking about technology and your kids. So how much is too much, how to say no when it's super difficult, and we're going to open up that really difficult and sometimes sensitive conversation, because let's face it, it's really easy to hand our phone to a kid who's upset, right? It's really easy to hand that iPad over. So we want to talk about that because there are some really great uses for technology, and we don't want to keep that from our kids. We just want to be able to manage it well. So please tune in, check out all of our social media for information and registrations for that webinar coming up. I don't see another question coming in. Thank you so much. Please check out that email and use that gift card or the coupon. Use that for us. If you have any questions, I'm sure Paisley would be happy to respond. We've got all those phone numbers there for you guys to reach out. They've got lots of convenient locations for you. And if you have any needs or any questions of Metro, where we provide ABA services, PT, OT, speech, feeding, and now we've got some great mental health resources. Please give us a call and don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to help you. So we will see you guys next month. Thank you, Paisley. Thank you, Jackie. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.